was thinking.
Next on CBS 4 News at 5, the downfall of former Miami City Manager Donald Warshaw in handcuffs, surrendering, then talking openly about the charges. We have live CBS 4 team coverage.
We're watching 3 active areas in the tropics tonight, including a new tropical depression.
The government makes a major decision on whether American women will be able to take the controversial WFOR-Ch abortion pill.
We're following a breaking story. A young Turkish student who said a cab driver attacked and tried to rape her is now going to be charged herself.
Model Anna Nicole Smith in a high-stakes battle with her late husband's family with $500 million at stake. We're live with the story.
Hello, South Florida. I'm Maggie Rodriguez.
I'm Steve Wolford. CBS 4 News at 5, right here, right now.
Now, live. This is CBS 4 News First at 5.
An ex-city manager, disgraced and handcuffed, turns himself in to the FBI. Then Donald Warshaw makes a public defense of his actions.
My actions, in my mind, constituted anything but a crime, that I have not committed any crime.
Tonight, the fallout over Donald Warshaw's indictment.
Warshaw says this is one of the saddest days of his life.
Warshaw is free on bail tonight, but there are conditions tied to the indictment. We have live team coverage, including reaction to what Warshaw is saying about the charges.
CBS 4's Julie Auclair is live at Miami City Hall, but we begin with Gary Nelson, who's live at the federal courthouse. Gary?
Well, Maggie, Don Warshaw speaking out for the first time since being indicted today. He showed no contrition. He offered no apologies. He asked no one to forgive him. He said if he is guilty of anything, it is a little sloppy bookkeeping and some bad judgment.
Donald Warshaw emerged from the Miami Federal Courthouse pale, struggling to summon the briefest of smiles. He narrowly avoided understatement as he met the media.
Obviously, this isn't one of the better days of my life. It's probably, other than the day my father died, the saddest day of my life.
His day began in handcuffs. The former Miami City manager, former chief of police, booked on charges that he stole tens of thousands of dollars from little kids and from cops.
This is the decision that the government made. I can't change that, and now I have to appropriately resolve it. And you guys have covered enough of these kinds of cases in the past to know and understand, you know, that everybody has their day in court, and I expect to have mine.
Warshaw wouldn't offer specifics, but insists he repaid every cent of the nearly $90,000 he allegedly pilfered from the police pension fund and from the children's charity Do the Right Thing.
I probably could have used better judgment in some of the things I did, you know, but that's history now. I can't change that, and now I have to take it to this level and go from here.
Warshaw, the once top cop, reflected on his morning walk through the rain, hands cuffed behind him.
I wasn't treated any differently than anyone else, and if anybody thinks that I received any preferential treatment, let me just tell you, it was a mighty humbling experience.
It is a humbling experience only just begun. In court today, Warshaw appeared in an open collar, fresh from his booking procedure. Judge John O'Sullivan freed him on a $100,000 personal bond, ordered him to surrender his passport, told him not to leave South Florida without the court's permission, and to check weekly with the probation officer. Still ahead for the former police chief and city manager, a federal prosecution that carries with it potential penalties of 25 years in prison.
Donald Warshaw is scheduled to be arraigned in Miami Federal Court October 13th. He will plead not guilty. We're live in Miami. Gary Nelson, CBS 4 News.
From Gary, our team coverage continues with reaction from Miami City Hall.
CBS 4's Julie Auclair is live there in Coconut Grove after speaking with Warshaw's political enemy, Mayor Joe Carollo. Julie?
Well, Maggie, again today, as Warshaw surrendered to federal authorities, Mayor Joe Carollo came out to say this just proves he did the right thing in firing Warshaw. He says he fired him because of the suspected financial misdealings, not because of how he handled the Elian case. Warshaw says that's just not true.
He wanted me to fire him for the Elian Gonzalez affair, that he was not being fired for that.
Mayor Joe Carollo continuing to insist that he fired Donald Warshaw because he refused to provide invoices billed to his American Express for the Do the Right Thing program and the police pension fund, not because he says Warshaw refused to fire Police Chief O'Brien during the Elian controversy.
I think the mayor made it pretty clear when he did fire me that he told Geraldo Rivera and half the world on national TV around the clock that he was firing me because of my refusal to fire the police chief.
You know, it wasn't Elian Gonzalez that was using those credit cards for him to do the right thing. It wasn't Elian Gonzalez that was using the credit cards from the pension fund. It was Donald Warshaw, not Elian Gonzalez.
Warshaw going on to say this has nothing to do with Carollo, and Carollo agrees. He says this is now about Warshaw and what he's charged with doing. Meantime, members of the community continuing to speak out as Warshaw surrenders to federal agents.
I think that anybody that steals is a crook.
I don't think it's fair. I think he was set up, too political in this town.
And as you just heard, there is mixed reaction over Warshaw's indictment, while some continue to say, as do the Miami City Commissioners, that they feel betrayed. Some of the commissioners feel betrayed because they trusted Warshaw. Others are continuing to defend him. We'll keep you updated. We're live at City Hall. Julie Auclair, CBS 4 News.
Stay with CBS 4 News for continuing coverage on the fallout from the indictment of Donald Warshaw.
We are tracking the tropics tonight, and they're showing no signs of quieting down. In fact, we have a new tropical depression to our south. And farther out in the Atlantic, Hurricanes Isaac and Joyce are both on the move, and there are a lot of questions right now about where Joyce is headed. Let's go to CBS 4's Chief Meteorologist Bob Soper, who is live in Weather Control. Bob?
Well, we got a lot going out there for sure, Maggie. Isaac, no bother to anybody, but it's the strongest hurricane we've seen all season. It's got 140-mile-per-hour winds, and fortunately is out in the middle of the Atlantic. Bermuda's right there, and it looks like it's going to miss Bermuda to the east side. I think the big thing there will be a lot of high waves. Joyce is down here in the central Atlantic, still moving toward the west, and in the Caribbean, we've got Tropical Depression 15. That is just drifting there, as it has for the last several days. You can see it, here's the center roughly right off the coast of Honduras, and we think in time it may move up into the northern part of the Caribbean, but we're going to wait and see on that. It has 30-mile-per-hour winds. Here's Joyce, continuing to move toward the west. Looks pretty good formation there. It's got fairly strong winds. Now here are the Lesser Antilles. We think in time it's going to go west for a while. The models all show then it begins to turn toward the northwest, and then where it goes from there is anybody's guess. But Joyce is the one we need to watch closely, and of course Tropical Depression 15, and we'll have more on all of this and your weekend weather coming up shortly. Back to you.
Thank you, Bob. You can also get updates on Hurricanes Isaac, Joyce, and all the activity in the tropics by calling the CBS 4 Sprint Hurricane Hotline at 877-419-CBS4.
The Food and Drug Administration is increasing security at some of its offices after approving the controversial abortion pill RU-486. FDA officials say they're concerned because of past anti-abortion violence. RU-486 may be available to doctors within a month. CBS 4 health specialist Dr. Deanna Lights joins us now with more. Doctor.
Well, the FDA's approval of RU-486 is so controversial that the names of the doctors who reviewed the drug are being kept secret for their own personal safety. It's approved for use in the very early days of pregnancy, and only doctors with specific training will be able to prescribe it. The road to this week's FDA approval of the abortion drug known as RU-486 has been long. But in about a month, the drug, marketed under the name Mifeprex, will be available in this country. Studies show the so-called abortion pill is 92% effective in terminating pregnancies within the first 7 weeks.
It will enable them to choose, if they choose to terminate a pregnancy, to do that earlier, to do it without surgery. And for many women, that is a very positive thing.
While the group Planned Parenthood says the early abortion pill is as big an advance for women's health as the birth control pill was 40 years ago, RU-486 is not without side effects like uterine cramping, heavy bleeding, nausea, and fatigue. And if the pill doesn't work, the women must have a standard surgical abortion. And RU-486 has been used in France since 1988. It's also available throughout Europe and China. In this country, the cost of terminating a pregnancy with Mifeprex will be about $300, which is the same as a surgical abortion. RU-486 should be available in about 1 month. Dr. Deanna Lights, CBS 4 News.
Thank you, Doctor. We know this is a controversial subject, and we wanted to know what you think about the FDA's decision to approve the abortion pill, so we asked you to sound off.
I would disagree with the use of an abortion pill because it seems like it's an easy way that people may use instead of birth control.
I agree. I think women should have all the options that are available if it's medically safe.
I disagree with that. I disagree because it's dangerous. That could be dangerous. They take it at home. They don't know how many they taking. I don't agree with that at all.
I agree with it.
Why?
I think there's no way you can avoid it. I think it's something that's time has come.
I think it's a matter of choice. I agree that if it's there and people choose to use it, that's fine. I have a choice not to if I choose not to.
Abortion opponents plan to continue their fight against this pill. We'll certainly keep you posted on the debate.
A heartbreaking decision by the parents of conjoined twins. Tonight, it looks like one of the little girls will die so the other has a chance to live. The story's coming up.
Plus, new information tonight about the plane crash that killed pro golfer Payne Stewart.
Also, a South Florida schoolteacher cleared of allegations he molested 2 young boys is being accused again.
Coming up at 5:30, trying to match up stolen items with their owners. Everything from cars to stereos. If you're a recent crime victim, we'll tell you how you might be able to get your property back.
But first, a breaking story we're following. There are new developments in the case of a young Turkish student who said a cab driver attacked her. Tonight, she's the one being charged. That's coming up next.
You're watching CBS 4 News with Mackie Rodriguez, Steve Wolford, Jim Berry Sports, meteorologist Bob Soper, and storm specialist Brian Norcross.
58% of fourth-grade kids in our low-income schools can't read. There's an education recession in America. Governor Bush has a plan. Require strict accountability and measurements that Al Gore opposes. Propose a teacher protection act that Gore won't support.
If we really want to make sure no child gets left behind in America, we need the courage to raise standards in our schools. We need more accountability and more discipline. It's easy just to spend more. Let's start by expecting more.
Get your Harold. Drive on up and get your Harold. Get your Harold, mister. Here you go, paper. Okay, thank you. Wait right there.
Your chance to win $1 million is coming. Play the $1 Million Birthday Game this Sunday. Just one of a million reasons to read the Herald.
It's Hollywood Squares Survivor Week.
All the rats consumed this week will be catered by Spago.
Watch Jenna Lewis, Jervis Peterson, Sue Hawk, and Rich Hatch next Hollywood Squares.
Weeknights at 7:30 on CBS 4.
Now you can survive and drive. Register to win a 2000 Ford Focus. Watch Survivor Back to the Island. Tonight at 9 on CBS 4. Write down any reward challenge from these episodes of Survivor with your name, address, and daytime phone. Bring your entry to Ford and Honda of North Miami Beach. The first 250 people to drop off entries receive an official Survivor scarf absolutely free. Tonight with Survivor on CBS 4.
You're watching CBS 4 News, first at 5.
We're learning about a bizarre twist in the case of a Turkish student who claims that she was assaulted by a taxi driver. The alleged victim is now the suspect and now under arrest.
It's a breaking story we've been following for the past hour. Investigators are now revealing tonight her report of a terrifying ride is simply not true. CBS 4's Ted Scouten is live outside Miami-Dade Police Headquarters in West Miami-Dade with more on that. Ted.
Steve, that Turkish student is now in police custody, charged with filing a false police report. The bottom line here, cops say that she lied. She made up the entire story about a Miami cab driver nearly raping her. When Turkish student Berk Hussein said she was nearly raped by a cab driver, Miami-Dade police began to hunt for a suspect. She told police a cab picked her up near UM to take her home. She said instead of going home, the driver took her to a warehouse, began pulling off her clothes and beating her. She told police she fought him off. But when police followed up on her story, they found it didn't add up.
Our detectives that were investigating this from the beginning retraced her steps and were able to find inconsistencies. Were able to actually trace down a taxi cab that she actually had gotten into and found out that her story was a complete lie.
Police say Sahin told them she made it up so she could get sympathy from her family, so she could quit school in Miami and return home to Turkey. Now, you saw the injuries on her. Investigators said that they believe those injuries are all self-inflicted, there to help back up her false story. We're live in Miami. I'm Ted Scouten, CBS 4 News.
We have some breaking news right now in Coral Springs, an accident on a construction site.
Let's go to CBS 4 News anchor Elliot Rodriguez in the newsroom for the details. Elliot?
Yeah, Steve and Maggie, this is a developing scene right now in Parkland, and fire units as well as police units are just getting there. The initial reports are that a construction vehicle, possibly a truck, has gone into the water. That's that murky water where that lake is right there, and that apparently a construction worker is trapped inside. Now, we've been looking at the pictures from Chopper 4. We're not able to see a truck from this vantage point, but that is the report that went out on the police radios, that a construction vehicle is in the water and that someone is trapped inside. As you can see, the fire units and police units are out there. We'll keep you posted on what happens out there. In the newsroom, Elliot Rodriguez, CBS 4 News.
A Hialeah Gardens elementary school teacher recently cleared of allegations that he molested 2 students has been accused again. Another student has made a similar accusation against David Solomon, who's been under investigation for the last 3 months. In June, the state attorney's office cleared Solomon in a Miami Shores case, one in which he was accused of fondling 2 baseball players that he coached. Solomon has not been arrested in this latest case, but he has been reassigned to a district office, and all the while he maintains he's innocent.
The Broward Sheriff's Office is asking for your help in finding a camera bandit. The suspect is seen on surveillance video from a Pompano Beach service merchandise store trying to open a locked camera display case. A dozen 35mm cameras were stolen from the same store a week earlier. Police believe the suspect is responsible for similar robberies in Pembroke Pines and all the way up to Jensen Beach.
All right, Bob Soper's here now. Every day you have a new friend.
Something new,
to talk
yeah.
About, Bob.
Well, no friend of mine,
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now. Tropical Depression 15 is formed. Unfortunately for us, it's way down by Honduras. Unfortunately for them, it looks like a real rainmaker for them. Take a look outside right now. For us, it's fairly quiet once again. 82 degrees at CBS 4 Weather Control. Fort Lauderdale the same. 74% relative humidity makes it feel like 95 degrees out there. Winds northeast at 10, gusting to 20 and 2200. So an inch of rainfall here at CBS 4's rain gauge, and we look at real-time radar. Most of the stuff is to the west of us now, moved right on through the showers and maybe a few thunderstorms out along Tamiami Trail, and then on down to the west of Homestead and moving toward the southwest. Here it is in motion since 11 o'clock this morning. The weather coming in off the ocean, and some of those containing some thunderstorms, a few boomers from time to time, but nothing real serious, just typical summertime boomers. And there is Tropical Depression 15. There is Honduras. It's just off the coast at about 70 miles north-northeast of Cape Gracias a Dios, Honduras. 16.1 north, 82.9 west. 30-mile-per-hour winds. It's stationary. It could gain some strength, but it's awfully close to land. It's iffy whether or not it's going to strengthen very fast. What we've got here, though, is a lot of deep moisture and may make for a wet weekend as this moves to the north, possibly, and maybe and perhaps even grows. But the deep moisture is just going to split off from that and come up over us, and it looks like it's going to make for a sometimes soggy weekend. Now, as far as Isaac is concerned, it's no threat to anyone, but it is strong, 140-mile-per-hour winds. It is moving on out toward the northwest. We're keeping a close eye on Hurricane Joyce. Here's a visible picture of Joyce as she comes right across and moves toward the west, almost due west, a little lean to the southwest. We think that's only temporary, and time should begin to move more toward the northwest. Now, here it is at 5 p.m. Joyce, 11.1, 45.8. 85-mile-per-hour winds moving west-southwest at 14, 920 miles east-southeast of the Windward Islands, and we think by Sunday it's going to be very close to either the middle or the northern part of the Lesser Antilles, so they are watching this very carefully, and if you're keeping track of Isaac's 27.4, 54.7 west. Here's a look at our forecast. We're going to call for passing showers just about any time. Tropically warm and humid overnight as well. Low about 78. Then tomorrow, windy with sun breaks. Thunderstorms will be blowing in on some of that wind. It'll be about 87 for a high. Winds are going to be out of the northeast about 15 to 20 knots. Small craft use caution out there. Seas will be about 4 to 7 feet. Bay water's choppy in the weekend. It's going to be breezy with storms around Saturday. If you had to choose a day again, like last week, Sunday will probably be the day to choose. Back to you.
Thanks, Bob. It looks like the controversial life or death surgery to separate conjoined twins will take place. The parents of the conjoined twin girls have decided not to appeal a court ruling permitting the operation. British doctors say the surgery may allow one twin, Jody, to live a normal life, but the other girl, Mary, will not survive the operation. The girls are joined at the lower abdomen.
Murder charges have been filed against the captain and 3 crew members of a Greek ferry that sank in the Aegean Sea. At least 66 people were killed when that ferry slammed into a well-marked outcropping of rocks. Survivors say the crew members were watching a soccer match when the accident happened. The crew is also accused of panicking, failing to organize an evacuation, and not deploying lifeboats quickly enough. Emmy Award-winning actor Richard Mulligan has died. Mulligan played Dr. Harry Weston on the hit 1980 sitcom Empty Nest. He also won an Emmy in 1980 for his role as Burt Campbell in the controversial show Soap. Mulligan lost his long battle with cancer this morning at the age of 67.
New information tonight on the plane crash that killed pro golfer Payne Stewart. Maintenance logs show the Learjet had a history of problems with its cabin pressure system. It's believed the jet lost cabin pressure, causing everyone on board to lose consciousness. The jet continued to fly for several hours on autopilot from Orlando to South Dakota until it ran out of fuel and crashed.
A major development tonight in the controversy surrounding Firestone at what some say are treacherous tires, and this move could cost the company millions of dollars. We'll have the latest coming up at 5:30.
Also at 5:30, Oscar winner Sally Field is making her debut as a director this weekend. We're talking with Sally and her star actress Minnie Driver about why the film was so special.
But first, the case of the Playboy Playmate versus her late billionaire husband unfolds in court. And at stake for Anna Nicole Smith, $449 million. We're live in Houston next.
I'm Kim Bokamp. We're coming your way in sports. One of the Dolphins' elder statesmen is teaching the kids a lesson on playing defense in the National Football League.
And we're continuing to follow breaking news in Parkland. Chopper 4 over the scene of a construction site where fire rescue is on scene. Apparently, they're responding to reports that a construction vehicle has gone into the water with someone inside. We'll keep watching this story for you, let you know what happens. CBS 4 News at 5. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Closed captioning is sponsored by General Motors, the company you count on wherever life takes you. General Motors, people in motion.
When Tony Danza joins family law, the cases are going to get intense. Stolen children. Scandalous affairs.
Senator was with 2 hookers while his wife was dying.
Domestic violence.
He's still Samantha's father.
Give me a break.
When it comes to the tough fights, don't let the suits fool you. These lawyers aren't afraid to get dirty.
I want this son of a
Watch your mouth, Ms. Holt.
Don't miss the Family Law season premiere. CBS Monday.
I'm Charlie Crest, and I'm running for Florida's Education Commissioner. This is St. Pete High, and it's where I went to school.
This is Mr. Davis. He was my principal when I went here, and he understands how important it is to have discipline in the classroom. Unfortunately, I didn't spend too much time in his office.
Now, Charlie.
We need to be sure that we give teachers the tools they need so that no child is left behind. As Education Commissioner, I'll put more money in the classroom and have a zero-tolerance policy for violence in schools. I'm Charlie Crest.
I'm Dr. Edison. For more than 15 years, I've helped thousands of satisfied patients to look and feel great through state-of-the-art cosmetic surgery. All procedures are performed painlessly and safely in our fully certified facility. So always insist on the best, a board-certified expert with a reputation for outstanding results. I want to be your doctor, not your center. For your free consultation, call 981-FACE.
It's sad that some people will do or say anything to scare seniors. Elaine Bloom is attacking our Congressman Clay Shaw, even though the Sun Sentinel says her ads are untrue. The fact is, Clay Shaw was a leader in eliminating the earnings limits on Social Security that hurt so many seniors, and he's really fighting to protect Social Security. Call Elaine Bloom. Tell her to stop her negative attacks and tell the truth.
You're watching CBS 4 News, first at 5.
I'm Elliot Rodriguez in the newsroom. Here are some of the stories we're working on for CBS 4 News at 5:30. The search is on tonight for dozens of crime victims across South Florida. Police hoping they'll recognize their stolen property and maybe even get some of it back. The fight for Elion may be over, but tonight the boy's South Florida family is heading back to court over the boy. And she was stripped of her gold medal for taking cold medicine. Now the Olympic Committee rules on whether this gymnast can get her medal back. Those stories and a whole lot more on CBS 4 News at 5:30 in just a few minutes.
The billion-dollar battle between a former Playboy Playmate and the family of her late husband is unfolding in a Houston courtroom today.
Anna Nicole Smith is challenging surviving family members over the will of her late husband. CBS 4's Teresa Estacio is joining us now live in Houston with more. Teresa.
Well, Maggie and Steve, Anna Nicole Smith believes that she deserves half of her late husband's fortune. And now, thanks to a California judge, she just might get her money. All eyes were on Anna Nicole Smith as she left a Houston courtroom Thursday.
Sorry, I'm not allowed to talk about this.
Are you happy after yesterday? But the former Playboy model kept mum about the latest legal battle over her late husband's billion-dollar estate. Smith claims part of that fortune belongs to her. Smith was working as a stripper at a topless bar when she met Texas oilman J. Howard Marshall in 1991. The couple later married in 1994. She was 26, he was 89. But Marshall's death the following year quickly sparked a family feud. That's because the billionaire willed his entire estate to his youngest son, E. Pierce Marshall, leaving Smith and another son penniless. Now Smith's attorney is hoping that a separate ruling will help them win their Houston court fight. On Wednesday, a California judge ruled that Smith had been denied her inheritance, and he awarded her nearly $450 million. The judge presiding over the Houston case is now making sure the jury won't be tainted by all the media coverage.
I instructed each of them not to watch TV news, just to go rent a movie.
Now, opening arguments in this case is set to take place next Monday afternoon. The trial is expected to last nearly 10 weeks. That's because there is so much money at stake. Reporting live in Houston, Teresa Stasio, CBS 4 News.
Thank you, Teresa.
Kim Bokamper's here with sports, and well, the Dolphin defense is starting to get the reputation now.
Yeah, and you look around, it's hard to pick out the guys that are doing better than the other. Everyone's playing so well for that Dolphin defense, but there's some guys doing some pretty good stuff. It has been all about defense for the Dolphins so far this season. The young and talented defenders go into Sunday's game in Cincinnati, ranked number 3 in the AFC, but they've got an old-timer leading the way. Our Julian Gonzalez has a story on Trace Armstrong.
It's an impressive list of quarterback killers. Baumhauer, Dewey, and Fernandez. Oh yeah, Elway wanted me to include you, Bo. But when stacked against Trace Armstrong, none have more career sacks as a Dolphin. Sorry, Bo.
It's very difficult to line up and just beat a guy and get a sack. There are a lot of things that go into it. So you've got to have the mentality that you're just going to keep pounding the rock.
Here's Bledsoe back to pass, looking under some pressure. They'll get him this time. Trace Armstrong takes him down at the 12-year vet has steadily climbed the Finn's career sack list, ranking 5th all-time with 46.5, and 7th among active NFL players with 88.5.
They come in bunches like that sometimes, and I'm lucky. I've got a lot of good guys around me that are playing well, and that helps a lot.
Despite being 8 days short of his 35th birthday, Armstrong shows no sign of slowing down. His 6.5 sacks leads the AFC, and that despite being a part-time pass rusher.
There's pluses and minuses to that. The plus is that I'm fresh, much more fresh than if you're playing every down. The minus is you have less opportunity. So, I know my chances are going to be limited when I get out there. So I really try and focus on not wasting an opportunity.
He certainly hasn't. The Gator grad is on pace to shatter the Dolphins' single-season sack record of 18.5 and solidify himself as one of the greatest sack machines in Dolphins history. Hey, Bo, at least you can brag and say you have more sacks than anyone here at the station. Julian Gonzalez, CBS 4 Sports.
As long as I've got that going for me, I got something. Coming up later at 6, we'll find out if Zach Thomas will be able to torment the Bengals this weekend. And the Marlins dodged the rain and the Expos at the Pro. That's that and plenty more when I return in about an hour, Steve.
Thanks, Kim. Survivor castaway and former Miami Beach resident Colleen is making a run at Hollywood. Colleen is the first Survivor contestant to land a major role in a movie. She'll play the love interest of Rob Schneider in a new movie called Animal. It's the story of a man who receives organ transplants from various animals and slowly finds himself taking on their animal traits.
Okay.
Sounds like a deep film.
It's a start.
Some South Florida children are hoping to sing their way to fame. And some are on their way to being the next Oscar Mayer child star. That story's coming up next.
Also, a major development in a Haitian mother's effort to come to South Florida to be at the side of her sick little boy. That's at 6. CBS 4 News at 5. We'll be right back.
First, Bill Nelson cozied up to insurance executives, grabbing big contributions. Now the drug companies are funding his false attacks on Bill McCollum. In Washington, Nelson voted to slash $44 billion from Medicare, pushed a law to cut Social Security benefits $22 billion, denounced by the AARP. Nelson's drug plan raises seniors' Medicare premium $600. Lets bureaucrats decide what drugs seniors get. Insurance and drug money for Nelson, a raw deal for seniors.
At Hops, we do whatever it takes to make your meal fresh and delicious.
Hey, I'm gonna show you boys how we fish. I'm the bear. Come to Papa, baby. You're not catching because you're not thinking. Fish on!
That's why Hops Fresh Seafood, Jamaican top sirloin, pastas, ribs, and microwave beers taste so great.
Tough day, huh? Tell me about it.
Visit your favorite Hops Restaurant, Bar, and Brewery location.
Hops, it's all good.
Newspapers say George Bush's prescription drug ad misrepresents the facts. In fact, Al Gore's plan covers all seniors through Medicare, not an HMO. Under Gore, seniors choose their own doctor, and doctors decide what drugs to prescribe. George Bush forces seniors to go to HMOs and insurance companies for prescription drugs. They have no choice, and Bush leaves millions of middle-class seniors with no coverage. Al Gore, the only prescription plan that gives all seniors coverage and choice.
Finally at 5, a South Florida girl is singing her way to fame, Oscar Mayer style, but in Spanish.
Cuando quiero algo bueno y sabroso, un hot dog Oscar Mayer pido yo. Y si me dan un hot dog de Oscar Mayer, mi sonrisa les dirá que me gustó.
So that's what it sounds like in Spanish.
Cool.
Always wondered that. Out of 10 finalists, Isis Calvo of Miami is the grand prize winner. She gets a $10,000 college scholarship and the chance to sing the Oscar Mayer song in a Spanish language radio commercial.
I want to hear you singing along.
Oh, yeah.
Give it a shot.
Yeah. That's CBS 4 News at 5. We'll see you again at 6.
CBS 4 News continues now at 5:30 with Elliot Rodriguez and Alita Haytayan.
And coming up next on CBS 4 News at 5:30, dozens of items ripped off by thieves, and some of these stolen goods may belong to you. Find out how you can recover them in a live report.
More trouble in the tropics. Your weather station is tracking the latest action.
The fight for Elian not over yet. Find out why Elian's South Florida family is now suing the INS.
The Boy Scouts threatening their own lawsuit, the latest in this controversial battle.
And the decision is coming on whether a Romanian gymnast will get her gold medal back. Good evening, I'm Elliot Rodriguez.
And I'm Alita Haytayan in for Jennifer Gould. CBS 4 at 5:30 begins right now.
Now, live, this is CBS 4 News at 5:30.
First at 5:30, thousands of dollars worth of stolen cars, electronics, even high-powered weapons, all recovered by police. Investigators say tips led them to a robbery suspect and 6 homes in Fort Lauderdale.
Now, police say the homes were packed with hot goods, and now police want victims to come forward and claim their stolen property. CBS 4's Evan Bacon is live in Fort Lauderdale with our top story at 5:30. Evan.
Elliot, I'm standing in front of one of those homes right now. The address is 2310 Northwest 11th Street in Fort Lauderdale. The police say this served as one of the storehouses for those stolen goods, but now it's the time for the final clearance. Police want to return those goods to whom they belong.
Each of these items represents a theft.
A treasure trove of stolen goods, just waiting for their rightful owners to come claim them. Everything from lawn equipment to TVs, stereos, motorcycles, and automobiles.
We have this VCR over here, and somebody paid good money for that at some point in time. And what we want to do is find the person that actually bought it and who had it stolen, so we can kind of clear that case and get it all solved.
A tip led Broward deputies to a house in Fort Lauderdale last Thursday where they found the first batch of stolen goods and arrested a suspect, 27-year-old Chauncey Thompson, already on probation for trafficking of stolen property.
From that location, we learned of another and another and another, and it was like a chain reaction effect. Every place that we went to, we found more and more stolen goods, and what you see in this warehouse is the result of all those searches.
6 homes busted so far, and detectives expect more. But what worries them is a cache of high-powered guns, masks, and gloves found in the homes, suggesting that this might be part of a tri-county robbery ring.
As victims come forward and recognize that this stuff belongs to them, we're going to be able to clear those cases and solve them and then charge the bad guys with the crime.
Now, if you've had property stolen recently, it is worth your while to attend a public viewing Tuesday, October 3rd, 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. at the Broward Sheriff's Office Training Warehouse, which is on the east side of the public safety complex. If you cannot make it to that viewing, call for an appointment at 954-321-4800. Deputies also expect to make more arrests, and they need more information. If you have anything that could help them, you might be eligible for a reward. Call Crime Stoppers at 954-493-TIPS. We're live in Fort Lauderdale. Evan Bacon, CBS 4 News.
Your weather station is also tracking 2 hurricanes in the Atlantic and a tropical depression in the Caribbean, which may mean more wet weather for all of us. CBS 4's meteorologist Craig Setzer is in weather control with the latest. Craig.
That's right, Alita. The tropics remain active. Now, once again, as you mentioned, 2 hurricanes and a tropical depression. Let's show you what's going on. Here's Isaac moving to the northwest, Joyce moving to the west-southwest, and our tropical depression just formed and just classified this afternoon. We'll zoom in on that first. Air Force reconnaissance was down in this area today. You can make out a circulation. They also found a circulation plus they found some banding of the thunderstorms and convection mainly on the east and south side. So indications are this is going to slowly strengthen and drift at a very slow rate to the northwest. Now once it gets out to the northwest here in this open water, it could undergo some strengthening. Also Joyce, here's the last couple of days. You can see Joyce moving to the west and then dropping a little bit to the southwest there. At the beginning of the loop, kind of a small-looking storm, but in the last 6 hours or so, it looks like Joyce has grown somewhat and also continues on that west-southwest track. Could affect the islands by sometime late in the week. And we'll have more on Joyce, Isaac, Tropical Depression 15 in our forecast coming up in a bit. Back to you.
And remember, you can get updates on the latest in the tropics by calling the CBS 4 Sprint Hurricane Hotline. The number is 1-877-419-CBS4.
We're getting an update now on a breaking story we told you about at 5 o'clock, a construction accident in Parkland.
CBS 4, Steve. Newsroom now with more on that. Steve, what can you tell us?
Alita, Elliott, the scene now that you're looking at, Parkland Fire Rescue has taken a ladder off one of the ladder trucks and put it out into the water just on top of that red blanket. They're apparently trying to see exactly what they're dealing with, what kind of situation that they're dealing with. And if you're just joining us, Parkland Fire Rescue responding to a report of a construction vehicle in the water there with a man inside. Now this story's been unfolding now for the better part of 15-20 minutes. So nothing new really to add other than that they're trying something new now to look in the water. You can see that water is quite muddy and murky. So we'll keep watching this scene of this breaking news story for you and let you know any new developments as soon as we get them. Live in the newsroom, Steve Wolford, CBS 4 News.
Thank you, Steve. Elian Gonzalez may be back in Cuba, but the legal fight over the boy who captured the attention of millions of people is far from over. We all remember the pictures, of course, of pre-dawn raid in Little Havana at the home of Elian Gonzalez's South Florida family. INS agents removing the boy from the home to reunite him with his father. Well, the family filed a lawsuit today against the federal government claiming the raid that took Elian from the home was a violation of their constitutional rights. CBS 4's Ted Scouten has more.
Attorneys for the Gonzalez family filed this lawsuit here in federal court today. What they're doing is they're suing the federal government, saying that the federal government violated their constitutional rights when they conducted that raid to get Elian Gonzalez.
This is a land of law. We follow the law. Sometimes the government breaks the law, and when they do, they have to pay for it.
Attorneys for Lazaro Gonzalez, his wife Angela, and their daughter Maritza say their constitutional rights were ignored. The Gonzalez family claims the federal government, including Janet Reno, the Justice Department, Border Patrol, and individual agents, served an illegal search warrant the morning they barged into their Little Havana home. They said that act violated their rights guaranteed by the U.S. Constitution.
The way this search warrant was executed, I've never seen anything. The last time I saw anything like that was in films of post-war Germany, where the Nazis were just doing whatever they wanted to and invading people's homes, even without cause.
The suit goes on to include the city of Miami, the police department, and former police chief William O'Brien, and names specifically INS agent Betty Mills. She's the one who carried Elian out of the home into the waiting van.
It is not satisfactory to say, I was only following orders. If you know it's the wrong thing, and it obviously was, you shouldn't do it. Therefore, she is responsible.
And the attorneys say so far they have not come up with any kind of dollar figure for damages. They say likely they're going to let the jury decide that one. In downtown Miami, I'm Ted Scouten, CBS 4 News.
And right now we have some more breaking news to tell you about, this one involving a sexual predator that was arrested.
Yeah, let's get the very latest on this one from Julie O'Clair, who's outside the Miami Police Department. Julie, what can you tell us?
Well, Elliot, Miami police say they have arrested a man who was apparently terrorizing children. 42-year-old Jorge Zayas, we have a picture of him to show you right now, is charged with 8 counts of lewd and lascivious behavior. Detectives receiving a call at 7:45 this morning from the pastor of St. Peter and Paul Catholic School that a man was exposing himself to several kids while driving this maroon van. A parent also giving police the tag number of this van. Now later in the day, a school board police officer pulling the van over. Inside, they say they found Jorge Zayas with his pants around his ankles, exposing himself.
Obviously, this guy is very dangerous. I can only call him a sexual fiend. This guy obviously has done this before. He has a record for doing this. He was arrested back in 1988. And the only reason why he's not a registered sexual offender is because the Jimmy Rice law was not in effect back then.
And after he was arrested today, police say that he admitted to being an exhibitionist and that he liked to be seen by pre-adolescent girls. As I mentioned before, he is charged with 8 counts of lewd and lascivious behavior, and police tell me that more charges are pending. We'll keep you posted. We're live at Miami Police. Julie O'Clair, CBS 4 News.
Another alleged case of smuggling has brought 32 Cubans to South Florida. The group was found this morning at mile marker 55 in Marathon. They said a fishing boat picked them up in Cuba 2 days ago, then dropped them off today and then left. All of them are now being processed by immigration officials.
The mother of the man who died in the Cuban plane wreck received some bad news today. The U.S. government denied her a visa. Her son, Udell Puig, drowned after the plane went down in the Gulf of Mexico last week. 9 others survived the crash. Puig's father, who's in South Florida, says his son's funeral arrangements are on hold for now.
A scare in Pembroke Pines today. Several kids at Flanagan High School started complaining of burning eyes and scratchy throats. Police say someone sprayed either mace or pepper spray in a classroom. One student was taken to the hospital complaining of breathing problems.
There is more fallout tonight from the ongoing Boy Scouts battle. The Scouts say they'll sue if the Broward County School Board doesn't let them recruit in schools. CBS 4's Jack Hambrick has more on the story.
One thing is for certain, under a tremendous amount of pressure, the Boy Scouts have not wavered from their original position. In fact, they are now on the offensive, threatening to sue the Broward County School District if they bar them from being involved in school activities. For decades, the Boy Scouts have enjoyed a close relationship with the school districts in Broward and Miami-Dade. But that relationship could wind up in divorce, complete with lawyers and litigation. Broward School Superintendent Frank Till wrote a letter to the South Florida Council of Boy Scouts. The purpose was to find out if they were going to uphold the national organization's policy of excluding gays. Executive Director Jeffrey Herman responded with this letter, saying no, they would not deviate from the National's policy. Herman says that if the Scouts are evicted from Broward schools, they'll take it to court.
We also did make it clear in the letter that we felt that singling out the Boy Scouts from exclusion of school usage would be unconstitutional viewpoint discrimination and a violation of our First Amendment rights.
Dr. Till was unavailable for comment, but in his letter to the Scouts, he said board policy does not allow for discrimination based on sexual orientation. The Scouts want an exemption. Board member Stephanie Kraft said, quote, "We don't want to be discriminatory in how we treat one group or another. It's no secret that the Scouts need the schools for recruitment, but the schools have also come to rely on the Scouts' education-based activities." Jeffrey Herman, the executive director of the South Florida Council, made it clear that the last thing that he wants to do is get involved in any type of litigation. What he wants to do is to sit down with Dr. Till and the rest of the board at some point in the next week to 10 days and have an open discussion on all of this. In Miami Lakes, Jack Hambrick, CBS 4 News.
A court decides whether an Olympic gymnast will get her gold medal back.
Coming up next, we have the latest decision and reaction from the 2000 Summer Olympics.
I'm consumer investigator Al Sunshine. Double trouble for Firestone after CBS News uncovers even more damaging evidence. I've got a full report coming up.
You're watching CBS 4 News with Jennifer Gould, Elliot Rodriguez, meteorologist Craig Setzer, and storm specialist Brian Norcross.
It's sad that some people will do or say anything to scare seniors.
Elaine Bloom is attacking our Congressman Clay Shaw, even though the Sun Sentinel says her ads are untrue. The fact is, Clay Shaw was a leader in eliminating the earnings limits on Social Security that hurt so many seniors, and he's really fighting to protect Social Security. Call Elaine Bloom. Tell her to stop her negative attacks and tell the truth.
About 200,000 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer this year. I'm CBS 4 Health Specialist Dr. Deanna Light. Early detection is your key to survival. So stop by the Auto Show October 6th through the 15th. Take a free risk assessment test and find out what your chances are of getting breast cancer. This easy test could help save your life. Plus, get information on screenings and the latest treatments.
Be a survivor. Get screened. Sponsored by UM Sylvester Cancer Center, AstraZeneca, and Roche.
Hi, I'm CBS 4's Ileana Barella. If you would like to make a difference in someone's life, but you don't know quite how, well, the answer may be right in your own home. There are many nonprofit agencies serving people who need everything from personal and household items to computers and furniture. If you can help, please call Neighbors for Neighbors at 305-597-4404. CBS 4's Neighbors for Neighbors and you. Together, we can meet the needs of our community.
Do you know who brought the first Mitsubishi dealership to Florida? Do you know who was the largest volume Suzuki dealership in the U.S. in 1999? Do you know who South Florida's oldest Nissan dealership is? Do you know who is the only Mitsubishi dealer with locations in both Miami-Dade and Broward counties? Who has been giving the best automotive deals in South Florida for more than 50 years? Of course. CBS 4 News is sponsored by Bill Seidel's Gonna Save You. Seidel saves.
It's now official. Romanian gymnast Andrea Raducan loses the gold medal. The young Romanian gymnast won the all-around competition, but she tested positive for a banned substance.
And now many people are wondering if the 2000 Olympics will be known just for its drug problems. CBS 4's Manuel Gallegos is in Sydney and has more on the story for us.
Bad news for Romanian gymnast Andrea Raducan. She will not get her gold medal back.
She's destroyed. The parents are destroyed. Everybody and us, we are destroyed too.
The 16-year-old won the overall gymnastics competition, but she tested positive for the drug ephedrine, a stimulant that was in the cold medicine given to her by the team doctor. The girl said she doesn't understand why this has happened and that the medicine actually made her dizzy during her performance. Former Romanian champion Nadia Comăneci defended her.
It's difficult for me to explain to her in my own language, you're innocent, but we're still going to get the medal from you. I don't think that's fair.
Arbitrators ruled that it didn't matter how the substance got in her body.
It's a painful decision, but you have to protect the other athletes, because otherwise you open up the door to anyone saying, oh, I took a drug, but I did not know it was illegal. And that would be the end of the fight against doping.
Doping has never been more of an Olympic issue than at the Sydney Games. Several athletes have been stripped of their medals. Olympic officials admit doping is everywhere.
We are obviously in a new stage of the fight against doping.
The Americans are not immune from the doping scandal. Since American shot putter C.J. Hunter was accused of taking steroids, the entire American track team has come under suspicion.
What we're trying to do is solve the doping problem. If they've got a testing regime and people have slipped through it, then they should improve the testing regime.
The American track team says it has one of the most vigorous drug testing systems anywhere. But its policy is to not reveal the names of suspected drug cheats until the results are officially proven. But that policy has the international media and sports officials wondering if superstar athletes are hiding something. At the Sydney Games, Manuel Gallegos, CBS 4 News.
Well, isn't it the time of year where it's actually supposed to start cooling down?
No, not yet.
When is that time of year?
When is that time of year?
It's December down here. It's cooling down for parts of the country, just not here, though, and it's not going to for some time. Let's show you what's going on real-time radar right now. A few showers after a fairly stormy morning across portions of South Florida. Most of the activity's moved inland. A little bit of shower activity now in the Atlantic. It'll be coming on shore later tonight. And some showers and thunderstorms right now over the Middle Keys. Satellite map over the last 12 hours showing the showers and thunderstorms firing up over South Florida. And also Tropical Depression 15 now sitting in the western sections of the Caribbean, becoming a little bit slowly better organized with time and forecast to drift slowly to the northwest. 5 o'clock coordinates, 16.1 north, 82.9 west. Movement is stationary right now. Once again, though, the forecast track takes it very, very slowly to the northwest. You can see the moisture associated with Tropical Depression 15. Also some moisture closer to home. It's actually this moisture closer to home that's going to keep us on the wet side this weekend. Computer models are showing this deep moisture kind of breaking away from the tropical depression and hanging out. So we'll see a good chance for showers and thunderstorms right through the weekend. Here is Isaac moving to the northwest. Here is Joyce moving to the west-southwest. And the bad thing about Joyce kind of taking this southwest track is here are the islands over here. So now if Joyce even does start to turn more to the northwest, it could become a problem for the islands. Once again, here's the bigger water vapor loop also showing that the westerly wind's pretty far to the north. Here's our forecast for tonight, calling for some passing showers, especially later on this evening. Otherwise tropically warm and humid. Low near 78. For tomorrow, look for windy conditions increasing. Some breaks in the clouds, thunderstorms blowing by, a high near 87. Allergies, moderate, both categories. And taking us through the rest of the weekend, breezy with storms around on Saturday. A little bit more sun, but still kind of stormy for Sunday. Back to you.
Tonight, one country is making a major move that could cost Firestone millions.
That's right. CBS 4 News, of course, was the first South Florida television station to tell you about those alleged treacherous tires. And now one country is banning the tires. CBS 4 consumer investigator Al Sunshine, who broke the story, joins us with the latest. Al.
Elliot, secret court records just made public confirm what we've been reporting for some 3 months now. Both Ford and Firestone allegedly knew about treacherous tires on SUVs for a long time, and some claim they covered it up from the American public. And now, Saudi Arabia banning Ford products with Firestone tires from even entering that country. Confidential court documents obtained by CBS News show both companies knew about alleged tire problems at least 2 years before they were recalled. Both companies fought to keep court records confidential from the case of Danny Van Etten. He died after a Firestone tire shredded on his family's Ford Explorer.
The officer said he did a magnificent job getting it off the road, pulling it. He almost had it off the road. He didn't hit either side of the street, and then it just flipped.
Court records show a pattern of dangerous tread separations beginning back in the early 1990s. More than 2,000 were reported from tires made at Firestone's Wilson, North Carolina plant in 1993. And those tires and many others from that plant are still on the road. What's more, Ford had access to the data and even signed a protective order that kept it secret back in 1998. Just 3 weeks ago, Ford CEO Jacques Nasser claimed his company just learned about the problem a few weeks ago.
Ford did not know that there was a defect with the recalled tires until we virtually pried the data from Firestone's hands.
Nobody said, yes, they are wrong, but I feel as though they were wrong, so I think it's criminal.
Both companies have declined to comment about the court documents that are now being released to the public. And Ford just today announced it's planning on shipping Michelin tires on its new SUVs, and that's breaking away from a long-standing business relationship with Firestone. And I'm hearing almost daily about local consumers telling new car dealers they don't want any Firestone tires on their new SUVs, even if those tires have not yet been recalled. But some dealers are still telling customers they're not going to change them, and it's got a lot of very unhappy customers, and I'm sure dealers out there now.
Okay. And I know you'll be following this up for us.
Absolutely.
Al, thank you.
Thank you. Still to come, Oscar winner Sally Field is making her debut as a director.
Coming up in Jade's Escapade, she has a preview of this comic Cinderella story with a twist.
Coming up at 6 o'clock, a sick Haitian boy and his mother may soon be reunited. We have the details.
Right now, here's a look at the numbers on Wall Street. The Dow, the Nasdaq, and the S&P 500 were all up today. We'll be right back.
Vietnam veteran, father of 4, married 30 years. Al Gore will fight for families. Tax cuts for middle-class families, including a $10,000 a year tax deduction for college tuition. Continue welfare reform with time limits, work requirements. Force deadbeat parents to take responsibility for their children. A crime victims' bill of rights to protect victims, not just criminals. Fight violence and pornography on the internet, helping parents block out what children shouldn't see. Al Gore. He'll put his values to work for us.
The evidence leads us to believe that it was in fact a homicide. We'll find it, Miss Hartman. There is always a clue.
He's
salve, we restore peace of mind. And when you're a victim, that's everything.
This fall, meet the men and women of crime scene investigation. It's like watching the sunset, isn't it? William Peterson and Mark Helgenberger star in CSI. Premieres October 6th. He's been an insurance commissioner who has stood up for consumers against the big insurance companies. Bill Nelson. Now he'll be a U.S. Senator who will fight for people to protect our private medical and financial information, for smaller class sizes, better trained teachers, and safer schools, for a guaranteed prescription drug benefit under Medicare, to pay down our nation's debt, and to use the savings to protect Social Security. Fighting for us, Bill Nelson.
Get revved up for all the action of the South Florida International Auto Show. Don't miss the Sun Sentinel's preview section on Friday, October 6th.
First, Bill Nelson cozied up to insurance executives, grabbing big contributions. Now the drug companies are funding his false attacks on Bill McCollum. In Washington, Nelson voted to slash $44 billion from Medicare, pushed a law to cut Social Security benefits $22 billion, denounced by the AARP. Nelson's drug plan raises seniors' Medicare premium $600. Lets bureaucrats decide what drugs seniors get. Insurance and drug money for Nelson, a raw deal for seniors.
You're watching CBS 4 News at 5:30.
I'm Maggie Rodriguez in the CBS 4 newsroom with a look at some of the stories we're working on for 6 o'clock. Former Miami Police Chief and City Manager Donald WFOR-Ch is saying tonight he vows to fight the allegations against him. Prosecutors say he took thousands of dollars from a children's charity he helped found. We'll have live team coverage. Then she claimed a taxi cab driver assaulted her in broad daylight. But tonight, this international student is under arrest. We'll have details in the live report. Those stories and a whole lot more when Steve Wolford joins me for CBS 4 News coming up at 6.
Thank you, Maggie. Oscar winner Sally Field is making her directing debut this weekend.
That's right. She's putting her talent to work behind the camera in the new movie Beautiful, starring Minnie Driver. CBS 4 entertainment reporter Jade Alexander has a preview in tonight's escapade.
Well, it's a comic Cinderella story with a slight edge. And hey, you can't go wrong with a director like Sally Field, a talented actress like Minnie Driver, and one adorable little girl I know you're going to recognize.
It's a Sally Field film production, yes, The Flying Nun, hitting the big screen, called Beautiful, a female-empowered comedy starring Minnie Driver.
Excuse me, are you Miss Illinois? Why, yes, I am.
Minnie plays Mona Hibbard, a woman who stops at nothing to compete in the Miss America pageant, including denying that she's Vanessa's mother, her illegitimate daughter, played by Hallie Kate Eisenberg.
I want you to answer me one question. Why do I look so much like you?
Having had an unhappy childhood and crushing everything in her path to get what she wants, Mona doesn't always make the right choices, which is why she relies on best friend Ruby, played by Joey Lauren Adams, to give her direction.
I'll tell you what to do, Mona. Why don't you go home and cook Vanessa some dinner, and then maybe you rub her back until she falls asleep for once. Grow up, Mona!
She works very hard, but she really is just a kid.
Vanessa's uncompromising allegiance finally forces Mona to get in touch with her maternal side, choosing to give motherhood a try.
Hi, I'm a kid who needs a foster family.
Okay, come on, give me the phone.
With a few bumps along the way. Mona's ultimate decision, finding a place for Vanessa in her complicated life.
I just want to know where I belong.
Beautiful is rated PG-13 and it hits theaters tomorrow. Did you figure out where the little girl's from?
No, tell us where.
The Pepsi commercials, where she has the Joe Pesci voice. Remember?
Oh.
No, but you guys don't watch television, do you?
Thank you, Jay.
Bye-bye, guys.
We'll be right back.
Dogs are coming out Sunday on CBS 4. The Dolphins take on the Bengals. Will Miami's Big D make it a dog day afternoon for Cincinnati? Dolphins, Bengals, Sunday at 4, only on CBS 4, the Dolphin station.
They've been called the greatest generation. And when they can't live at home any longer, they deserve a safe and comfortable place to grow old. But Republican Congressman Clay Shaw actually voted to eliminate federal health and safety standards for nursing homes. Republican Shaw even voted with Republican leaders to allow some private nursing homes to evict residents on Medicaid. Call Congressman Clay Shaw. When he and the Republicans vote to put seniors at risk, Tell him he's making the greatest mistake.
In today's world, you're on the go more than ever. That's why AT&T Digital One Rate has no roaming or long-distance charges in all 50 states, so you can travel from the big city to the Big Easy to the Big Island, and won't be far from the people who matter most. AT&T Digital One Rate. Now, more plans to choose from with more minutes than ever before. Wireless from AT&T. Your world close at hand.
New at 6, a 14-year-old Haitian boy battling leukemia in South Florida. His mother in Haiti wants to be with him, but the U.S. government said no twice. Now their lives may be about to change. All new at 6.
Al Gore's prescription plan forces seniors into a government-run HMO. Governor Bush gives seniors a choice. Gore says he's for school accountability, but requires no real testing. Governor Bush requires tests and holds schools accountable for results. Gore's targeted tax cuts leave out 50 million people, half of all taxpayers. Under Bush, every taxpayer gets a tax cut, and no family pays more than a third of their income to Washington. Governor Bush has real plans that work for real people.
Their dog came back from a routine grooming looking like this.
The dog was almost dead.
We didn't see any indication that the dog was almost dead.
Was the dog injured while in their care? Next, Curtis Court.
Weekdays at 10 on CBS 4.
Well, that does it for CBS 4 News at 5:30.
Right now, join Maggie Rodriguez and Steve Wolford for CBS 4 News at 6.
Thank you, Elliot and Alita. Now on CBS 4 News at 6, handcuffed and hauled into court, Miami's former top cop and city manager surrenders. Then Donald Warshaw publicly addresses charges he stole thousands from children and officers.
One of Warshaw's biggest political enemies is reacting to Warshaw's statements. We have live team coverage.
A South Florida man accused of illegal sex acts with children in view.
Tonight, a woman who says she was attacked by a cab driver is making a surprising confession.
The mother of a teenager battling leukemia in South Florida tries again to see her son. Will she come here from Haiti?
Also, more activity in the tropics. Tonight, we're watching a new tropical depression.
And we're continuing to follow a breaking story. Divers are on the scene right now looking for a man after his truck dives into a man-made lake. Hello, South Florida. I'm Maggie Rodriguez.
I'm Steve Wolford. CBS 4 News at 6, right here, right now.
Now, live. This is CBS 4 News at 6.
He was once Miami's top cop, but today he was the one in handcuffs. Donald Warshaw turns himself in on charges he stole from children and his fellow officers.
Something for which obviously I'm not only very disappointed, but I'm going to vigorously defend.
Tonight, Warshaw denies the accusations against him on the day he surrenders. The former Miami city manager says he's shocked that he's on the other side of the law tonight.
The indictment against Warshaw accuses him of stealing tens of thousands of dollars. We begin our team coverage with CBS 4's Gary Nelson live in downtown Miami. Gary?
Well, Steve, Donald Warshaw stood here in front of the federal courthouse this afternoon and offered no apologies, asked no one's forgiveness. He insisted on his innocence and said that if he is guilty of anything, it is of a little bad bookkeeping and some bad judgment. Donald Warshaw emerged from the Miami Federal Courthouse looking gaunt, pale, struggling to flash the briefest of smiles. He met the media for the first time since his arrest.
Obviously, this isn't one of the better days of my life. It's probably, other than the day my father died, the saddest day of my life.
His day began in handcuffs in the rain. The former police chief booked on charges he stole tens of thousands of dollars from little kids and from fellow cops.
I couldn't respect the system anymore. I mean, look at who I am and what I did in this community. So the system is what it is, and I'm going to go through it like everybody else.
What he allegedly did is pilfer nearly $90,000 from the police pension fund and the children's charity Do the Right Thing. Warshaw offered no apologies and no specifics today, but insists he has repaid every dime of the money.
I probably could have used better judgment in some of the things I did, you know, but that's history now. I can't change that, and now I have to take it to this level and go from here.
The once top cop reflected on this morning's long walk sandwiched between FBI agents, his hands manacled in front of him under arrest.
I wasn't treated any differently than anyone else, and if anybody thinks that I received any preferential treatment, let me just tell you, it was a mighty humbling experience.
The humbling experience has only just begun. In court today, Warshaw appeared in an open collar, fresh from being booked. Judge John O'Sullivan freed him on a $100,000 personal bond, ordered him to surrender his passport, ordered him not to leave town without permission, and to check in weekly with the probation office. Warshaw now faces a federal prosecution that carries potential penalties totaling 25 years in prison. Under federal guidelines, however, the most he might expect is 1 to 3 years in the federal pen, and he could expect to be stripped of a very lucrative city pension if he is found guilty of having violated his public position, his position on the board of that police pension fund. We're live in Miami. Gary Nelson, CBS 4 News.
From Gary, our live team coverage continues now with CBS 4's Julie Auclair.
She's joining us live with reaction from Warshaw's biggest political enemy. Julie.
Well, Steve, Maggie, Mayor Carollo saying again today he did the right thing in firing Donald Warshaw, former city manager and former chief here at Miami Police. He says he fired Warshaw because of the suspected financial misdealings, not because of how he handled the Elian case. However, Warshaw disagrees.
He wanted me to fire him for the Elian Gonzalez affair, that he was not being fired for that.
Mayor Joe Carollo continuing to insist that he fired Donald Warshaw because he refused to provide invoices billed to his American Express for the Do the Right Thing program and the police pension fund, not because he says Warshaw refused to fire Police Chief O'Brien during the Elian controversy.
I think the mayor made it pretty clear when he did fire me that he told Geraldo Rivera and half the world on national TV around the clock that he was firing me because of my refusal to fire the police chief.
You know, it wasn't Elian Gonzalez that was using those credit cards for him to do the right thing. It wasn't Elian Gonzalez that was using the credit cards from the pension fund. It was Donald Warshaw, not Elian Gonzalez.
Warshaw going on to say this has nothing to do with Carollo, and Carollo agrees. He says this is now about Warshaw and what he's charged with doing. Meantime, members of the community continuing to speak out as Warshaw surrenders to federal agents.
I think that anybody that steals is a crook.
I don't think it's fair. I think he was set up. Too political in this town.
Again, as you saw there, a lot of mixed reaction about Warshaw's indictment. Some still defending him. Others, like Miami City Commissioner Johnny Winton, say they feel betrayed because they trusted Donald Warshaw. We're live in Miami. Julie Auclair, CBS 4 News.
Stay with CBS 4 News for continuing coverage on the Warshaw indictment. We'll bring you any updates as they develop.
Your weather station tracking more activity in the tropics tonight. In addition to 2 hurricanes, there's now also a new tropical depression. CBS 4's chief meteorologist Bob Soper is live in weather control with the latest. Bob.
Maggie, this is the time. Boy, I'll tell you, it really has gotten hopping out there in the tropics, and that tropical depression just formed late this afternoon at 5 o'clock, declared a depression, and it's right there off the coast of Honduras. We've got Isaac right there, and we've got Joyce. Both of those two are hurricanes in the Atlantic, and they continue. At least Joyce continues toward the west. Here is this, not moving at all, just off the coast of Honduras. And when it does move, we think it will probably move toward the northwest across the Caribbean, toward the Gulf of Mexico. So that future track sometime on Sunday might put it near the Yucatan Peninsula. And again, there's Joyce, and continuing to move, well, a little bit to the southwest, but we think in time more toward the west and eventually likely to go northwest. But we'll tell you more about that and our weekend weather coming up in a few minutes. Back to you.
All right, Bob, see you in a little while. Remember, you can always get updates on what's going on in the tropics by calling the CBS 4 Sprint Hurricane Hotline at 1-877-419-CBS4.
An accused sex offender is under arrest after allegedly flashing some school children. The pastor from St. Peter and Paul's Catholic School in Miami called police saying children were complaining about a man driving a maroon van exposing himself. A parent managed to jot down the suspect's tag number, leading police to Jorge Zayas.
Obviously, this guy is very dangerous. I could only call him a sexual fiend. This guy obviously has done this before. He has a record for doing this. He was arrested back in 1988. And the only reason why he's not a registered sexual offender is because the Jimmy Rice law was not in effect back then.
Investigators say Zayas was actually found in his van near Shenandoah Elementary School in Miami with his pants pulled down to his ankles. Students there were also complaining about the suspect.
We would like to update you now on a breaking story we have been following for you since it began unfolding. A man is trapped inside his truck in this lake. Let's turn things over to CBS 4 News anchor Elliot Rodriguez. Elliot?
Yeah, Maggie, the police divers are on the scene out there, but this is no longer a rescue operation. It's a recovery operation because what you have inside that murky water, according to police, is a dump truck, and inside the driver of that dump truck apparently lost control of the truck and it ended up inside the water. Police units have been out there for some time, and divers are in the water right now trying to locate the truck and see if in fact the reports are true that there is a person trapped in there. At this point it's been more than half an hour that the call came out, so they do not expect to find anybody alive in there, but they are still out there and still searching for the truck inside the water. Once again, this is a construction site in Parkland. Reporting from the newsroom, Elliot Rodriguez, CBS 4 News.
Thank you, Elliot. A Turkish student who accused a cab driver of assaulting her is now under arrest. Police say she lied about the whole thing so that she could leave the country and return to Turkey. CBS 4's Ted Scouten is live in West Miami-Dade with this story. Ted?
Well, Maggie, police tell us that this entire story of this attempted rape is nothing more than a pack of lies. As you said, they said that she did it in an attempt to try and go back home to Turkey. Instead, tonight she is in jail accused of filing a false report. When Turkish student Berku Seyhan said she was nearly raped by a cab driver, Miami-Dade police began to hunt for a suspect. She told police a cab picked her up near UM to take her home. She said instead of going home, the driver took her to a warehouse, began pulling off her clothes and beating her. She told police she fought him off, but when police followed up on her story, they found it didn't add up.
Our detectives that were investigating this from the beginning retraced her steps and were able to find inconsistencies. We were able to actually trace down a taxi cab that she actually had gotten into and found out that her story was a complete lie.
Police say Seyhan told them she made it up so she could get sympathy from her family, so she could quit school in Miami and return home to Turkey.
And apparently she felt pressured to be here to further her education by her family, or that's what she's telling us, and thought she needed a story to return home and came up with that one.
And you can see the bandages on her neck and arm. Police believe those injuries were self-inflicted to back up her false claim that she was beaten in the attack. And police tell us the biggest shame of this whole thing is that if this thing happens again, if something similar happens again, people may not believe it. We're live in West Miami-Dade. I'm Ted Scouten, CBS 4 News.
The search is on for a suspect caught on camera just before he allegedly ripped off a department store. Investigators think this man slipped a dozen 35mm cameras into his backpack. They were taken from the Service Merchandise Center off Federal Highway near Fort Lauderdale. Police say he may be responsible for similar crimes in Pembroke Pines and Jensen Beach. If you recognize him, call Pembroke Pines Police.
A woman accused of writing more than 100 bad checks is now in jail on a $165,000 bond. It took a judge in Broward County 8 minutes to read through all of her charges. Police say Cynthia Veitch wrote the checks against her mother's account to support her drug habit. The judge is ordering her into a drug rehab program.
Coming up, a fight that stretches across international waters to reunite a mother with her son who's battling leukemia. Tonight, the Haitian woman finds out if a repeated request for a visa will be granted.
Scientists say they've come up with a way to figure out if someone is smart just by looking at them. We'll explain that coming up in Health News.
And ahead at 6:30 on the CBS Evening News, the FDA decides if American women will have access to a controversial abortion drug. CBS 4 News at 6 will be right back.
You're watching CBS 4 News with Mackie Rodriguez, Steve Wolford, Jim Berry Sports, meteorologist Bob Soper, and storm specialist Brian Norcross. What drives you? The coolest new cars for 2001? Memorable classics? Exotic cars? See them all before anyone in the country on CBS 4's Auto Show 2001.
You're in the driver's seat as we take you to the 30th anniversary 2001 South Florida International Auto Show, one of the country's biggest and best.
Join Teresa, Bob Soper, Jim Berry, Kim Bocamper, Jade Alexander, and Jennifer Santiago for Auto Show 2001. Presented by Kia and Sawgrass Ford. Saturday, October 7th on CBS 4.
The big problem in this area with St. Augustine grass is weeds. I see weeds, I get very upset. When I moved in here a year ago, this yard was a mess. A lot of it was dollar weeds. Immediately I put in the Scott's Bonus S Weed and Feed, and the weeds don't have a chance. When they die, the grass moves in very thick. Scott's Bonus S gives me a deep, rich green lawn with no weeds. Fall is a perfect time to get rid of your weeds. Scott's Bonus S, exactly what I need for St. Augustine grass.
Hi, I'm Todd Wade of the Miami Dolphins. I've seen a lot of blitzes, but nothing like the closeout blitz at Duhaney Pontiac Buick GMC.
Pontiacs, Buicks, GMCs, thousands below invoice. It's Duhaney Pontiac Buick GMC's 2000 closeout. You'll pay less than Duhaney did when you buy a Pontiac, Buick, or GMC truck this weekend. Even used cars and trucks pay hundreds less than book value. Rush to Duhaney's 2000 closeout, going on now.
Beam me up, Scotty.
Beam me up, Scotty, not Todd. Put me down. What's he doing?
They've been called the greatest generation. And when they can't live at home any longer, they deserve a safe and comfortable place to grow old. But Republican Congressman Clay Shaw actually voted to eliminate federal health and safety standards for nursing homes. Republican Shaw even voted with Republican leaders to allow some private nursing homes to evict residents on Medicaid. Call Congressman Clay Shaw. When he and the Republicans vote to put seniors at risk, tell him he's making the greatest mistake.
A mother's wish is close to coming true. She'll soon get to hold her son who's battling leukemia. The woman is from Haiti, and twice she's been denied a visa to visit her son in South Florida.
But after pressure from several state and city leaders, that mother will soon get her wish and board a plane to the United States. CBS 4's Alita Haytayan joins us live from News Control with this story. Alita?
Maggie, Marie Sanin received her visa today. Finally, it is a move she has waited nearly 2 years for. For 2 years, Gayando Etienne has been battling leukemia and dreaming his mother could be by his side to help him through it. But political red tape and thousands of miles have prevented Marie Sanan from being with her son until now.
My mom tried to get a visa and I don't give it to her, but they call her today. I don't know if she's getting it yet.
Today, Etienne celebrates his mother is finally coming to see him.
That was a long time. That was in 1998, 5 November. 1998. I never see her for 2 years.
Marie had applied for a visa twice before, but it had been denied by the U.S. State Department. The case received media attention in recent weeks and criticism of the U.S. government's handling of Haitian issues compared to Cuban issues.
Basically, the policy has to change, and it has to be implemented evenly across the board. You cannot decide to favor one group of refugees against the other group. That creates a lot of frictions, a lot of problems.
Among others, Senator Bob Graham, Congresswoman Connie Meek, and Congresswoman Ileana Ross-Leighton lobbied for Marie's visa. Thursday, it was finally granted. And Marie is expected to be here as soon as Sunday. Live in News Control, Alita Haytayan, CBS 4 News.
Thank you, Alita. Well, okay, if somebody calls you a fathead, they might not be insulting you. They might be saying that you're really smart. Coming up in health news, we're going to tell you the strange connection between your IQ and the size of your head.
I'm Kim Bokamper, coming your way when I return with sports. Zach Thomas may be hobbling around on a bad ankle, but don't tell him he's not ready to strap it up for the Bengals. And the Marlins try to sweep the Expos back to Montreal.
Also, she married a billionaire 60 years her senior. Now, Anna Nicole Smith is going to court to fight for a piece of the inheritance. That story is coming up at 11. CBS 4 News at 6. We'll be right back.
For Your Health is sponsored by Cadillac and your Cadillac dealers.
This year, the U.S. Olympic team will put the world's best to the test. And this summer, Cadillac invites you to put its best to the test. But the Cadillac Olympic Countdown ends October 2nd, so take advantage of the right time and the right opportunity now and lease a 2000 Catera for around $399 a month with $439 due at lease signing. Call for important lease details. The power of and, the fusion of design and technology. Cadillac.
Closed captioning is sponsored by General Motors, the company you count on wherever life takes you. General Motors, people in motion.
Vietnam veteran, father of 4, married 30 years. Al Gore will fight for families. Tax cuts for middle-class families, including a $10,000 a year tax deduction for college tuition. Continue welfare reform with time limits, work requirements. Force deadbeat parents to take responsibility for their children. A crime victims' bill of rights to protect victims, not just criminals. Fight violence and pornography on the internet, helping parents block out what children shouldn't see. Al Gore, he'll put his values to work for us.
Guess who made it to the Olympics? Sports columnists Dave Hyde and Mike Mayo deliver gold medal coverage from Sydney in the Sun-Sentinel, official newspaper of the Fan.
The big boys are coming to Homestead Miami Speedway. Gordon and Jarrett return for NASCAR's Winston Cup Pennzoil 400 weekend, along with Earnhardt, Martin, and Labonte. Tickets are on sale now. Join the champions, stars, and celebrities in a weekend of NASCAR thrills and excitement. The Pennzoil 400 and Miami 300 at Homestead Miami Speedway, November 10th through 12th. Get your tickets now. Order online or call 305-230-RACE. That's 305-230-RACE. Call now.
Who else gives you 54% off? We thought so.
Hey, 54% off every frame we carry can't last forever, so hurry to DOC for our 54th anniversary sale.
It's here already. The biggest Columbus Day sale at El Dorado. Going on now. Get huge discounts or no payments, no interest for a full year. Discover the best Columbus Day sale going on now at El Dorado.
You're watching CBS 4 News at 6.
Mr. Soper, quite a list of names you're putting together.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, the list could get bigger.
Could get bigger. We've got Tropical Depression 15, which, if it strengthens, could become Keith, and we're going to keep an eye on that, boy. We thought we'd have at least 10, and it looks like we're going to try to make that and more. Take a look outside right now. We've seen some showers pass by, and you'll see them in the background there. 81 degrees here, CBS 4 Weather Control, 83 at Fort Lauderdale. 77% relative humidity, feels like 86 degrees out there. Winds northeast at 6. We've had a gust of 20 and over 0.2 of an inch of rainfall here at CBS 4. And on real-time radar, a few showers approaching Boca Raton and some rainfall down around Key Largo, mainly in Florida Bay and moving southwest, so don't think that's going to be a problem for you. Radar in motion since noon today shows this rainfall pattern coming from the northeast to the southwest, and then, as we said, just down there in the Florida Bay area. And we go farther south into the Caribbean, and there it is, the Tropical Depression 15, just off the coast of Honduras, about 70 miles north-northeast of Cape Gracias a Dios. It's a 16.1 north, 82.9 west. 30-mile-per-hour winds. Right now it's stationary, but we do think in time that it's going to start to move toward the north as just drifting into a little bit more open water. May become Keith late tomorrow or in 36 hours, and deep moisture is likely to also come over us for a mostly wet weekend. I think Friday, Saturday going to be the wettest of the two. There goes Isaac, very strong 140-mile-per-hour wind hurricane, but we're more concerned about Joyce, which is right here, moving a little southwest right now, but we think in time it'll move west and then be heading toward the Lesser Antilles at 11.1 north right now, 45.8 west, 85-mile-per-hour winds, moving west-southwest currently at 14 miles per hour, 920 miles east-southeast of the Windward Islands. On Sunday, it may be very, very close to the islands and continue to cause problems for them by that time. They're already seeing some pretty good swells, and what we're seeing here is the ridge that's going to continue to move this thing toward the west. All right, take a look at our forecast. Passing showers just about any time tonight, tropically warm and humid, low about 78. Then tomorrow, windy with some sun breaks. Thunderstorms going to be blowing in on that wind, high temperature 87. Small craft use caution out there. Winds northeast 15 to 20 knots. Swimmers look out for rip currents too. Seas up to as high as 7 feet in the Gulf Stream, choppy on the bays. And Saturday, breezy with storms around, more sun and fewer storms on Sunday. Cross your fingers. Back to you.
Thank you, Bob. Well, to have a good head on your shoulders, apparently you need to have a big one.
I'm also wondering about the people who did this study in the first place, but scientists at the University of Western Ontario say the size of your head may actually have something to do with your IQ. Bob Soper's ears perked up all of a sudden. They found that people with fatter heads have a higher IQ than do those with pointier heads.
Okay, coming up in sports, the Marlins look for the sweep this afternoon against the Expos.
Easy. Also, the Dolphins are hoping to have the Zack attack ready for the Bengals this Sunday. CBS 4 News at 6 will be right back. Stay with us.
Good evening. A great day today on Wall Street as the Dow Jones Industrial Average closes up 195 points at 10,824. The Nasdaq Composite up 121, 3,778, and the Standard & Poor's 500 up 31, 1,458. This is Mitch Hirsch of the Hirsch Arnold team at First Union Securities.
It's the battle of the wrestling Playboy Playmates as the WWF's China takes on Rena Mero. Then, Gay in Hollywood, why it's become the hottest trend in TV. And Swimming with the Sharks, XDT.
Weeknights at 7 on CBS 4.
Are you eligible for Medicare? Well then, be sure you get the 7 essential benefits from Humana Gold Plus. Call 1-800-541-2169 for this booklet, 7 Ways to Improve Your Medicare Coverage. Here are the first 4. Number 1, with thousands of doctors nationwide, it's easy to pick your favorite. Number 2, 100% hospitalization means you'll be covered down the road. Number 3, prescription drug coverage means paying for medicine won't leave you in the hole. Number 4, an annual hearing test, eye, and dental exams are all covered, so you won't miss anything important. You want 5, 6, and 7? Call now. They're listed in the booklet. Humana Gold Plus is an HMO with a Medicare Plus Choice contract and has no plan premium. Medicare pays us, so you don't have to. Ready to learn more? Call now for your free booklet, 7 Ways to Improve Your Medicare Coverage. Call 1-800-541-2169.
Coming up on the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather. Why is it taking longer to fly many routes today than it did 40 years ago? We did a little checking, and what we found will amaze you. Details right after CBS 4 News, so stay with us.
Toyota Solara, 1,000 cash back. Toyota Tundra, 1,000 cash back. Toyota 4Runner, 1,000 cash back. Toyota Camry, 1,000 cash back. RAV4 or Tacoma, 1,000 cash back. Now's the time to get money-saving factory incentives. Toyota quality at final clearance prices. See your South Florida Toyota dealer now. When the 2,000 Toyotas are gone, so are these offers.
CBS 4 Sports is sponsored by your South Florida Toyota dealers.
Kim Bokamper is heading over to Cincinnati for the big game this weekend, and the question is who's going to be in and who's going to be out.
Yeah, we'll find a big game, Cincinnati. We'll see.
Not lose this
we'll
one.
see. We'll see. Hey, it's not going to be too tough. Up next for the Dolphins, the struggling, and you can say it again, the struggling Cincinnati Bengals. Tackle Richmond Webb is expected to play this Sunday. Now Tony Martin and Thurman Thomas are listed as day-to-day. And one man that should sit it out is Zach Thomas, but I'm not so sure he's ready to watch from the sidelines. Zach limped off the field with a sprained ankle during the fourth quarter Sunday against the Patriots. Then after a brief visit to the locker room, the Dolphins' defensive leader returned to finish the game. He had a cast on for the early part of the week, and then he spent the other part of the week in the training room, but it'll be hard to keep Zach off the field come game time.
The running plays they have and even the passing plays, the Mike's going to get a lot of action, and that's what I want. And really, I'd like to play because, I'd like to get a lot of action.
Meanwhile, the Bengals' new head coach, Dick LeBeau, knows a good defense when he sees it. The former defensive coordinator will be looking at one of the best when the Dolphins step onto the field at Paul Brown Stadium. His Bengals have scored just 7 points in their first 3 games, leaving LeBeau hoping for a low-scoring affair.
Miami's defense doesn't give up very many points. We've got to keep this game tight, get it into the fourth quarter, and win the game.
All right, the Dolphins looking to go to 4-1 when they kick off against the Bengals at 4 o'clock on Sunday. You can see it all right here on CBS 4, your Dolphins station. Well, the Marlins won their 75th game of the year yesterday. This afternoon, they tried to add to that number against the Expos. First inning, already 1-0 Marlins. One on for Derek Lee. Smooth swing, big results. This one's a home run off Felipe Lira. 3-0 Marlins. That was number 27 for Lee. Now on to the fourth. Marlins clinging to a 1-run lead. Thomas De La Rosa shot to left. That goes off the wall. 1-run scores. That ties it at 3. Under the showers, the Marlins take the lead in the fifth. Mark Kotze right up the middle. That gets through the infield. Luis Castillo scores 4-3 Fish. Marlins still with the lead in the ninth. The Dragon Slayer, Antonio Alfonseca, closes it out. He picks up his 44th save. 7-4 Marlins. They win and sweep the Expos.
It's good to be competitive against the people, particularly in your own division, because they're the ones that you have to beat in order to become, a true contender and a playoff team.
The A's trying to hold on to their 1.5 game lead over Cleveland in the wild card. The Angels trying to play spoiler. Scott Spezio gives Anaheim the lead in the first inning. He goes deep off Kevin Appier. 1-0 Angels. Spezio wasn't done. He goes deep again off Appier again, this time in the fifth. They're in the ninth inning right now with the game tied at 3. It's 2 down and 3 to go for Marion Jones. The American sprinter ran away from the field to win the women's 200-meter and capture the gold medal in Sydney.
Sloppy pass. Carter inside.
Oh, Vince Carter at it again Tuesday night. The Raptors star decided to go right over the top of the Lithuanian defender. Do you think they've seen that before? I don't think so. Carter and the U.S. team advanced to the semifinals earlier today with an 85-70 win over Russia. How do you defend that when a guy goes right over the top?
They practice that with mini trams for the other team.
Thanks,
Kim.
Right.
We're getting a look tonight at a new addition to a South Florida park.
When we come back, we're going to tell you why this little one is being called a very successful experiment. Don't go away.
I'm Jeffrey Kaufman. It takes longer to fly from here to there than it did 40 years ago. We'll tell you why tonight on the CBS Evening News.
I think he's sleeping. He's sure been fussy lately.
I almost forgot how much patience it takes.
Oh, look how cute he is.
I think he looks like you.
Comfortable, quiet, serene. The new 2001 Accord is designed to completely baby its passengers.
Spokesperson auditioned and action.